This is so much more than just a handful of soil. It's a pathway to successful gardening because healthy soil means healthy plants. And the number one way to improve your soil is to add compost. This stuff is garden gold. When you dig it through your soil, it improves the water holding capacity of your soil. It also allows your plants to access nutrients as they need them. And of course, it feeds the earthworms and other beneficial soil microbes. So the best way to get your plants to grow well is to add compost. So an essential part of my garden plan is to generate enough compost to meet my garden's requirements. And to do that, I'm building a 3-bay compost system out of recycled or readily available materials. The idea of the 3-bay system is a really efficient way of creating compost. It's like a production line. You build the compost heap in the first bay, then as it matures, you move it to the second bay where it will continue to break down. This allows you to put your new materials in the first bay and start the process again. Finally, once the compost is ready, you move it to the last bay, and here it can stay until I'm ready to use it on the garden. I've made these bays out of recycled steel fence posts, which have this C-channel. It means that the wood for the walls of the bay can simply slot down in between, and the wood is from recycled pallets. Ideally use hardwood pallets because they'll last longer. There are 2 basic composting techniques. There's cold composting, and this is what happens in most backyards. When you add the material slowly over a number of months, and then it takes a long time for the compost to develop. The other technique is called hot composting, and that's what I'm going to do. It's where you use the action of heat to help speed up the breakdown of the organic matter. Now, when you're building a hot compost pile, you can actually get compost within a few months. The important thing is you need to make the pile 1 cubic metre in area so that the heat works effectively. The heat actually comes from the action of microbes, from the bacteria and fungi that are breaking down the organic matter, and the heat also acts to kill weed seeds, so that's fantastic. Start with a base layer of coarse twiggy material. This takes longer to break down and it helps to keep the pile aerated and well drained. Next, I'm adding a green layer. That includes anything that's fresh and green. It can include kitchen scraps, garden prunings, lawn clippings, even weeds with seeds on them, and fresh manures such as horse manure, chicken or cow manure. Then a brown layer. You can use anything that was once living but has dried out. So dried leaves, shredded paper, some coffee grounds, even a bale of hay. The most important thing when you're building a hot compost pile is to make sure that you've got lots of different ingredients going in. Keep alternating the layers. There's no hard and fast rule about proportions, but around 1.5 times as much brown matter as green works well. Your nose will tell you when you're getting it right. Too wet and it'll smell bad. Too dry and it won't smell of anything, which means it's breaking down too slowly. Make sure you don't use meat and fish scraps because they'll attract vermin. Besides the correct mix of green and brown, it's also important to keep turning the heap over because good air circulation helps the beneficial microbes breathe so they can break down the pile. Finally, make sure you cover your pile to keep the rain out and the moisture in. Now this bay is full. The other 2 bays will remain empty until I move it along. And shortly, I'm going to have a wonderful supply of gorgeous compost to keep my garden healthy and happy.